Hi everyone, Nick again. So today what we're going to do is talk a little bit about OBS, and then from there we're going to be able to talk about the portal, VoiceThread, a whole bunch of technologies we're going to be using day to day here at Cheshire Academy. But for the most part, the big thing we want to be talking about today is portal, right? So this is coming in again with no experience that you'd expect, but OBS is a lot like QuickTime in that it just allows you to record what you have going on. So right now I'm recording the screen. You can see that I have added in other elements here. So I'm added in my own audio input. Display capture allows me to show my own screen. And video capture shows you that this is my face coming off of the webcam. So today, right, like I said, we're going to talk mostly about the portal. So for now, what we're going to do is just start off by clicking the icon that you should all have on your favorites page. You can see mine's been well filled out for some time now, right? It doesn't necessarily auto-populate with your name, but it's going to be first name dot last name. Click next, your password, which you should have already been given, but otherwise it's either Cheshire 1794 or it's just going to be 1234567 but that's usually for Wi-Fi, but that would be your automatic password. So this is what portal looks like day to day. Generally, it looks like there's a lot going on, but there's a couple things that you need to know as far as where information is going to come at you most immediately, right? So our general sense of how we're going to go through this today is we're going to talk about the general overview, right? Some things that you need to know, and then just where you would find some other places so that you can reference this material down the road. So today, first thing you want to see is today's schedule, right? Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. Right, if I click through, eventually it'll get to a relevant date, right? Something that has today's date and time, and go far enough. Eventually, you'll find that it includes your class schedule. So let me zoom ahead a bit, and you can see that here, right, our first couple classes are put in. What that actually ends up going to show you is all of your attendance will be taken right on here. So I can't really show you a version of it right now. But you can see this red line kind of tells you what time of day it is as it goes along, right? That's all included there. Other elements of this, again, you can look at, but for this immediate page here, this is what's important for you. I don't use assignment center or rubric, really any of this other stuff. This is just where you're going to do attendance. You can change that, however, if you want to open up to something else, right, like your assignments. I like to open up to attendance. It's very easy to get to just as class starts. So if you haven't used Whipple Hill, if you have, this whole portal technology, big thing to know is just that this is called portal, right? We as a school are using Whipple Hill's technology. The portal is just what we're doing. So there are, again, many subheadings, but we just want to hit the quick facts first. So your official notes right here, you click on those. That's where you're going to send all your official notes. So again, an official note is usually sent when the student does something particularly well or particularly poorly, right, that you want their parent to be informed of, or their guardian. Their whole support network is going to get that official note. So teachers, right, are getting those official notes. The student themselves is getting the official note. Parents are getting the official note, right? Any coaches generally are getting those official notes, right? Whereas messages are more just direct communication with the student. Official notes are where you want to show everything that you have going on with that student, right, or an individual snippet from class, something that's more private, but it should be shared, right, with their individual adult support network. Whereas messages, like I said, can be as simple as, oh, hey, everybody's meeting here instead of here for practice. So, or practice is moved back half an hour for some event in the dining hall. So a couple other things you need to know as far as day-to-day use, right? Like I said, my day will always generally come to scheduled performance if you have it set up like that, which you all will have it automatically, but otherwise your classes can be seen here. So it shows you all your classes for the year, right? It shows your groups, if you're a coach, right? If whoever you're advising is going to be there. Faculty Administration Center, something we'll talk about. But your resources board, if you need anything in general and you just want to find a quick link, chances are it's probably in here. It's not the most organized in that sense, but again, it's all here. News, for the most part, as a teacher, you're going to find that out through some other means. Calendar is kind of helpful. We'll click around in that. And if you want to find any information on any individual person, I find that the directory is really helpful. But again, to take a look at the calendar, the all-school calendar is going to be here, automatically loaded for you. So it's cool to see who's on campus. But for the most part, you're not really going to end up using this calendar. You'll probably have your own, but this does export nicely, so that's helpful for however you want to be organized. We don't tend to recommend anything, right? Some people use calendars, some people don't. However you want to be organized, A-okay. So otherwise, like I said, the key part of Portal is, again, being on top of your official notes, making sure that you're sending official notes whenever any student has a major assignment with a C- or lower, right? Or again, if any student does something well, or maybe you just want to praise them in general, right? An official note is definitely the way that you want to go about that. But otherwise, day to day, right? How are you dealing with classes? How is everybody dealing with classes? At this point, if you're already familiar with how Whipple Hill works, if you're already familiar with how this technology is supposed to go, don't need to stress so much. But otherwise, let's take a look at a class. So right now, I've loaded in coding. And you can see it looks pretty blank. And that's because, well, I haven't set up my class for the year. So a couple things to note, right? Coding, just the name of the class. F is just because I'm teaching that during the fall semester. 0 is just what number section it is. Don't stress about that either. And A is just what period I'll actually be teaching. So this number in parentheses, this letter in parentheses here, that's what you actually need to be working on, or that's what you need to be aware of. Course recommendations, right? Those will populate later in the year in February. Don't need to stress about that. That'll happen in a department meeting. Your roster just tells you who's in the class. Again, right now, totally empty because it's midsummer. Grading elements that you'll take care of at the end of any term. Schedule, kind of helpful because it'll tell you when those classes are actually going to be, right, in case you might be missing a date, right? Like we have the Venture Grant Assembly here on the 7th. So you'll be able to tell whether or not that's actually going to interfere with anything. So it gives you kind of a sense of when you'd want to maybe make some alterations, but for the most part, nobody, again, really uses the schedule built into the portal. So your grade book, right, is all going to be through here. We, again, got to stress this a lot, but we have an open grade book. So that means that all of your assignments are going to be fully available for all of your parents, all of your students, all of anybody they're working with. Everybody should be able to access this stuff just because they also are logging into the portal, okay? Their view is going to look a little bit different on a lot of this stuff. Obviously, their grade book would look different for the most part, but you can still see a bunch of relevant information from here. The first thing you want to do when you're setting up your courses, which many of you will be, right, is that you want to change your actual setup for this course. So I'll just do it for mine as we go along here. So year versus marking period really doesn't make a massive difference, right, you'd think, but you really want to go with year, right, if you have a year-long course. Otherwise, we run into some difficulties with the finals. So the first thing you want to do is leave it as marking period if it's already set to marking period for semester classes, and then otherwise just go to year. Calculation method, total points with weight is the safest. Some people do percentages, some people do total points. Total points with weight is going to allow you to change up your assignments a little bit more creatively, whereas percentages and total points, you have a lot more difficulty working with the numbers to get your grade to come out the way that you probably want it to. So with that in the fold, don't want to use extra credit. It's available just through Whipple Hill, but we specifically told you not to use it right here. Again, it just kind of screws with the numbers a bit. But for this class, I might say, okay, yeah, you know, I have labs for my coding class here. I might have a quiz, and I might have participation grade, homework, right? Let's say that those are my 4 sections. Or look at me, accidentally using extra credit. So, of these sections here, letter average is fine, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference what you put in those. It only cares about the percentage of weight. It's got added up to 100. But let's say it doesn't. And I click save down here. It'll tell you it's 155. It'll try to run from there. So you really need to make sure that this total just reads out to 100. So, does that come out? Great. So you can see that that's 100. Otherwise, this letter scale thing doesn't make a difference, right? But it's cool because if you have multiple sections of one class, I unfortunately don't. But if you have 2 sections, right, let's say you want to have the same rubric for one IB class and another IB class, right, or if you have 2 sections of the exact same class, you can click on both of those, and I don't know, I find that pretty helpful. So then what that will do is it will allow you to take all of your information about grading and just apply it to multiple sections. So if all of your classes are graded the same, then by all means, just apply what you did here to all of those different classes. Semester exams, again, don't need to stress about this right now, but that stuff is there. So just click save and close, or I'll just click cancel. But then that'll be all loaded in for you. So even if I put in one assignment, and I say, okay, yeah, I should have just put in all that information there, but I didn't, right? Let's just say I have homework 1, right? I say you should do number 1 to 10 in the textbook. And then it says, okay, assignment types, these are the ones that I've added in. So I'll click any of these. But if I don't have any already appropriated, it'll allow me to just select anything. But I can say, okay, from attachments here, right, add anything I want kids to be able to download, right, or put a link, right, anything along those lines. Works well kind of as a Web 2.0 tool in that sense there. But your rubric, right, you are going to have stuff show up over here, right? I'm showing on the screen and trying not to point. But up here on the screen, you can see that I have a grade book, right, that'll be populated by a number of things. So let's say, okay, the first thing is my participation. So I'm going to just label it as part. The max points, it's out of 100. And this first participation grade is going to be not so important because it's the very beginning of school. So I'll just say 1. Add to gradebook, yes. Add to cumulative grade, yes. Extra credit, never, never, never. Published grade, always yes. 100% yes. So all of these, never, ever, ever going to change. Abbreviation, yep, you're going to need that. Max points, that's up to you, how you're going to set up your things. And factor, that just says, okay, you want to weight this more. So let's say next week I said, okay, this is a really big week for participation. I want this to be worth 3 times as many points. It'll just add up those total points, but it weights them to those factors. So that's where that total points with weight comes in that other rubric setup. But I don't stress about it too much. Just set it up that way. You can play around with the factor as much as you want. Some people like to do their submission online. Very, very easy through this. I can click on-campus submission. Number of files per student, set it to 10. Please set it to 10. Somebody's going to set it to 1 and then try to send another one, right? And then allow resubmit until due date. Please just click yes. But again, I don't do anything online through that type of submission. It has gotten lost once or twice, right? We have had a couple times where people lost a bunch of papers, but for the most part, I'd say it's pretty reliable. Create one instance or multiple instances of the assignment. That's not going to make a massive difference for you, but again, you can play around with this. This is something that's a little bit more advanced technique that not a ton of people use, but I've seen it used effectively. Otherwise, this is the most important thing that I'm going to talk to you today, or that I'm going to tell you about today. Right now, we're going to talk about actually setting up your portal, right? Because right now, if I say, okay, save this, it'll say the date must fall within a marking period, but otherwise, it'll kind of automatically put in today's date is the day it was assigned and the day it was due. So we've talked so much about the portal, right? But the big, most important thing is that your portal is at least 2 weeks out in advance. So right now, if I'm setting my stuff up for today being the 24th, right, I would hope to be able to have my portal all set and all updated all through August 7th. Fortunately, there's no school. Don't need to stress about this. And instead, I might say, okay, this first participation grade is going to be due on the 13th. I click save, and that assignment would be populated here, right, vertically, with all my students having an individual spot for their grade. But again, students aren't populated, and the assignments that I add in aren't necessarily populated either. So semester 1, semester 2, change over with that. Reports, never run them, not interesting. You've got better ways of getting information, right? Display options, again, don't play around with them, not worth it. But adding an assignment you can just do through there, or you can do it directly through the portal. So again, the gradebook has to be updated through 2 weeks, right, as far as adding new assignments in, because students will have other views of how to see what you have going on your page. So if you have your assignments here, which again, I just have this one listed here, right? Students can either see this view here, right, that we have it in, right, where each assignment is just listed one at a time, or you can see your calendar view where it shows you a calendar in all of your assignments as a student would show up, or all of your assignments as a teacher would show up. So if I assign another piece of homework due that same day, or if another teacher does, students will see these all as multiple boxes due within the 13th, right? And you'll have the ability to color it, right? But again, let's take a look at a list view. So you can see right now that this is, it says 0 out of 0 graded, right? And it's red. It'll turn yellow once I've graded any, green once I've graded all of them. Students will have kind of the same view of this when they look at assignments here, right? They'll say red, I haven't done it yet, and they'll be able to say that they've completed it at least. All right, so that's helpful. But again, something to be aware of as far as how the kids are perceiving this as well. Your topics pages are really where most of your older information is going to go. Kind of a retirement home for all of your information off of the bulletin board, which is currently blank again for this page. But the way that all of these edits work for your topics and your bulletin board pages are through the enter edit mode. So through this, you're really building out a page where anything can just kind of be tacked on. Any of these components, I can say import material, that's not a tacked on piece. Right, but announcements, I might say, okay, announcements, as soon as you log into the page, should be right up top. Great. I can publish those layout changes, and given that there's no announcements, nothing shows up, even though I have announcements here. Versus, let's say I want to add in a link. Right, I might say, okay, go to code, you don't have to know too much about setting this up. URL is just whatever your website is. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. You don't want it to expire, all this other stuff. Don't worry about it. You just click save. Right? So now I can click publish layout changes. Doesn't really make a massive difference for the most part, but if you're missing something, it's probably the button you got to click. Right? And now you can see that that links piece already loaded in. I click on that, it opens up code.org, which is just an example. So again, setting that stuff up on bulletin board or on topics pages seems pretty straightforward. Topic priority, expired, future, shared with me, all of this stuff I wouldn't get too involved with. That being said, using the import feature here is so important, right? You will probably use the import feature for the first time next year, right? Some of you will be using some of the import functionalities here to take stuff from other people who have taught the course. But for me, I can say, okay, yeah, I have this whole list of Mac animation sample programs, right? And I want to grab that. So I can say publish it now. I can change the publish date and the expiration date to whenever I want it to be, or the due date on assignments. But then I just say, okay, yeah, I want to take that, click save. Maybe I clicked save twice. But you can see that that stuff is then imported. Let's not do that. That sounds bad, right? Delete this thing. But no. You're fine. So then that topic pages is added in. This topic page is just added in, and then you can click on that. It looks just like your bulletin board, right? Where you have another page of just more information to go. So you can really add a lot to your topics pages, add not as much. Your big assignment here really, or really what this whole module is asking you to do, is to be able to take whatever you have for information here and get your portal situation square. You want to be in a position, like I said, 2 weeks out where all of your stuff is updated on the portal. I personally like to have it about 3 weeks, right, so that I'm not up against that deadline all the time to keep my stuff updated, right? But at the same time, you always have everybody else's stuff to work from, right? Here's year 1920, here's year 0708. Not as much information there, but browsing groups, let's see how back I can access information. So here's 1516, right? Portal's been up for a while now, right? I can click academics, activity, any individual area, but let's just say academics. So who's really putting a lot into their portal work, right? Let's just take a look. Jesus is generally good for a good portal page, right? Language department in general, right? So you can see the bulletin board. It looks like a bulletin board, right? So playing through all this, you can see topics pages are all populated, right? You can add in pictures, assignments, all the previous assignments are available. Roster of the course would all be populated. And again, you can communicate with people directly through here as well. So if I click those and say, okay, yeah, I want to send a message, I want to view their contact card or their medical card, everything is available through there for your roster, for your students. So it is really easy to access them, right? So I might say, okay, let's send a communication to all the students from this class, parents from this class, everybody in the class, right? Everybody remotely involved in the class. I can take care of that all from here. So if I want to communicate with a class, it's probably easier to do it through this. There's a way to send it out as an email, right? Let's say I send it to students, right? Send via emails right there, okay? So for anybody's individual topic page, right, you're just going to have a one-to-one correspondence of here's your topic page, or sorry, here's your bulletin board, here's your portal page, right, for this class, and here's the class itself. So you do need to have it set up for each individual class, right, and that might take a little bit of customization. But with the ability to extend what you've created into multiple sections, right, and the ability to import stuff from previous years, really allows you to take advantage of what other people have already put together. So as far as what your portal needs to include, right, we should probably take a look at something a little bit more minimal, right? So let's take a look at something I did last year. So my groups, right, I just went back to the year prior here, and let's take a look at what Coding F looks like then. You can see that I have some downloads, I have my syllabus, my grading rubric is published there, and my expectations. You will generally be expected to have something that looks like this. Your topics pages can be filled out, they can be sparse. Your downloads, maybe you want to put all of your class notes forever as downloads. Maybe you want to have no downloads. However you want to set up the page is fine. You just need to be consistent, you need to be very forthcoming, and you need to have these 3 things over here. 3 things. Pause your video right here. Great time to pause your video right here. The 3 things we're going to talk about: syllabus, grading rubric, expectations. Not particularly wild through any of them. You can just take a look at what I've written so far, and that'll help you a bunch. The syllabus is the most important thing, though, probably. Again, nobody might check you on this. Your department chair generally will. But students, some parents, generally people want you to have your thoughts organized. So you can see that mine aren't as organized because I've been teaching for a bit longer. You can see I just say, okay, this is what we're going to do today. These are some things that are going to be due. And this doesn't need to be kept current, but some people like to have it current. Some people like to constantly update these, right, and keep them populated so that students have a better idea of what's going on. But for you, all you need to be aware of is just downloading directly from one of our topics pages. You need to fill out the syllabus as best you can with just a topic and assignment. You might even want to do it by week too. These are just the templates that they gave us. But you might say, okay, this week we're doing this project, and then these are the assignments that are going to follow. But you need to have something down on paper for every class just so that everybody feels as though it's organized, you've thought it through. I find it's helpful personally. I'll admit that it does come to be somewhat tedious, particularly if you're writing the same sections, just organizing it based on the periods. But again, you have many, many resources. The resource board is there for a reason. So if you're having trouble finding that email where you got sent those pieces, right, originally, let's just take a look through here. Faculty resources is kind of your one-stop shop for a lot of things. I also feel as though all school information is helpful. All school information has your handbook, where any of this information can be found outside of the technical pieces here, right? Or faculty resources. So faculty resources here, you can see we have our lunch schedule, the daily academic schedule, which could just as well be under the all school information there. Some flowcharts and everything, but our semester templates are right here. They're always going to be the first link right under faculty resources of those templates are there. So you're expected coming into our August orientation to have your semester templates up as well, right? But our biggest piece right now is I want everybody to have their portals all ready to go. So for the most part, your portal should be pretty easily put together year to year. It's just that this first year takes a little bit more effort. It takes a little bit more follow through, right? A little bit of ingenuity, doing stuff the first time, you know. But otherwise, like I said, the 3 things you need to include are pretty straightforward. Syllabus, we just talked about. Grading rubric should just follow however you set up your grade book. Obviously, you should think that out too. But your expectations, those are going to be entirely independent class to class. So mine all kind of look the same relative to one another. But I talk about how I'm going to grade daily assignments or homework assignments out of 10. You know, I talk about how I hand out extra credit, right, or communications. But in general, this page is just there. It fills out what we have going on. But for the most part, too, it's helpful for kids that don't have as much information, or for parents who are sending their kids to the other side of the world to get educated. It is really helpful to have as many resources available as possible. So your big assignment that you have going on through this module is to be able to have your portals updated. So again, key pieces that I'm going to be able to do, or key things that I want to be able to do that. Topics pages in your bulletin board, only thing you're really setting up. Topics pages, maybe you want to import those from somebody else's page, maybe you want to design those your own. No matter what, it's all through this enter edit mode or create topic. So enter edit mode, it's all click and drag. Any of these individual types of things you want to put on, you want to put on a photo, you want to have text. Announcements are generally set up to actually contact all the teachers and to contact all the students as soon as one of those is provided, right, as soon as I add one of those. But all of those different elements that I want to add in are all right here. You can change your page layout a little bit. I like to do this one or this one. Really just the 2 columns is helpful. But that's the general sense of it. You really just got a lot of content. It's all content that goes into all these pieces. Again, you can be more sparse, you can be more thorough. All I'm asking is just that that gets done, right? The syllabus, that tends to be something people have time for, right, going into school. Maybe you have some thoughts. Maybe you have a lot of that already provided. But that's the gist of updating your portal. As far as what you need to do behind the scenes for your portal otherwise, is you're just going to go down to your profile. So within your profile here, you should be able to see some contact information. You're just going to fill all these pieces out. It's helpful. It populates within other areas, right? This piece here for your wireless number, right? That's going to send you notifications as well. So it's really important that you set that up, that you have all that information current, just because you want to be aware of school closings, delayed openings, etc. But for the most part, anything else you're really going to need for this is in the settings. So you can check your notification settings as well. Some people like to have emails of everything. Some things you get stuck with emails of, and there's no way to get a text version of. But for the most part, I like to have most things as text notifications instead of emails, because I just feel as though it clogs up my email. Otherwise, the email is fairly self-explanatory. We have a network of everybody added in, so most part, names will auto-populate. You don't need to stress in that sense. But again, quick run through a portal, 1 minute run through a portal here. Main page, attendance goes here, all your classes are here. Groups are here, resources, not really sure where something is, ask around, but then yeah, resources probably has the download. Directory here for accessing stuff, official notes, you gotta stay on top of sending those and reading those. Messages the same. Profile and your settings can all be taken care of now. But otherwise, the big piece is you're gonna go into each individual class. You'll be expected to take a look at the voice thread, which we've covered previously, but you'll go on voice thread, make any comments you want to make on there as far as things that are confusing. And then from there, all I want you guys really to be able to do is just edit your own portals. So update your portals, get that all set. You have a couple weeks, right? But once that's all set, we'll be able to talk about other pieces, other elements of all of the things that go on at Cheshire Academy. But that'll certainly be the most helpful. So let's see what y'all come up with.